Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In this session, we are going to discuss how to identify mubtada and khabar in a nominal sentence when that sentence contains mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. An important rule to remember as we do that, a mudaf ilayhi can never be a mubtada or a khabar. This information will really help us identify the mubtada and khabar. Now, I am making the assumption that people who are watching this already have a good understanding of mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. If not, then you may want to brush up that topic before you watch this video. Let's start with a simple example. Al-baytu jamilun, a very, very simple nominal sentence. As I've said before, we always start with finding the mubtada in a nominal sentence. So we start by looking for the first marfu noun, which is a technique we learned earlier. The first marfu noun, and that will be our mubtada. So in this case, al-baytu is that first marfu noun. So we mark it as mubtada. And then jamilun is the only noun left now. It is indefinite. It is marfu. A good candidate to be a khabar. And if you make it khabar, our sentence can be translated as the house is beautiful, which would be the correct analysis and translation. Let's move on to the next example. Baytul imami jamilun. It's just building upon the first sentence. In this case, we have basically added a mudaf ilayhi. But let's first find the mubtada, the first marfu noun. Again, this is baytu, mubtada. Wahuwa mudaf. Okay, it is mudaf as well. And al-imami is mudaf ilayhi. So as soon as you find mudaf ilayhi, put an X on top of it to indicate that it cannot be a khabar. And also not mubtada, but we already found mubtada and there can only be one mubtada in a sentence, so we should be okay for mubtada. And then we come across the last word, which is jamilun. And jamilun, as we saw before, it is marfu and indefinite, good candidate for a khabar, so we will make it khabar. And the translation in this case will become the house of the imam is beautiful. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Baytu imam al masjidi jamilun. Really, all we have done in this case is just added one more mudaf ilayhi. Otherwise, our mubtada is still the same. The first marfu noun, baytu, wahuwa mudaf, wahuwa mudaf. Imam is mudaf ilayhi. Wahuwa mudaf. Okay, wahuwa mudaf. And then al-masjidi is again mudaf ilayhi. Now, wherever we find mudaf ilayhi, we are supposed to put an X on top of it to indicate that this cannot be mubtada or khabar. And then we are left with jamilun, which, as we saw before, is actually khabar. So the house of the imam of the masjid is beautiful. Another example for mudaf ilayhi, bayti jamilun. Bayti jamilun. So bayti is really two words, bayt and then ya mutakallim, jamilun. Now, as you know, ya mutakallim requires that the letter before it gets a kasra, regardless of what the original vowel sign is. I'm talking about this particular kasra that you see on ta here. So in this case, the original case of this noun is actually baytu. So it is actually marfu. So it is basically a combination of bay tu plus ya mutakallim. Okay. So a good technique in this case is to put actually a dhamma on it, so that you can see that originally it was actually marfu, but then the dhamma got changed to a kasra to accommodate for the ya mutakallim. So finding our mubtada, the first marfu noun, in this case it's still baytu. Okay, wahuwa mudaf, and ja mutakallim is mudaf ilayhi. So we put an X on it, and then jamilun is khabar. Okay, my house is beautiful. Looking at the next example, haza ibnu ammi hamidin. Haza ismul ishara, and as we had learned previously, this is a mabni noun which does not change its ending to show whether it is marfu, mansoob or majroor. But if it's coming at the beginning of a sentence, then it is in its normal state of marfu. So this becomes our first marfu noun in the sentence. Hence it is mubtada. Ibnu is a candidate for a khabar, but before we mark it as khabar, let's look at the rest of the words. Ammi, in this case, actually Ibnu Ammi is mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. So Ammi is mudaf ilayhi, and then we put an X above it. And then Ammi Hamidin is another mudaf ilayhi pair. And so Hamid is mudaf ilayhi. So we put an X above it. So neither one of them can be khabar. So the only noun we are left with now is Ibnu. So that is our khabar in this sentence. This is the son of the uncle of Hamid. So this is Hamid's uncle's son. Okay. And then the last example we have is Fi bayti imam al-masjidi hadiqatun. Let's first find the mubtada. First marfu noun happens to be the last word in the sentence, actually, hadiqatun. So we mark this as mubtada, and then look for the khabar now. Fi, we know, is a harfu jar. Okay. Bayti is ism majroor. Ism majroor. Wa huwa mudaf. Okay. Wa huwa mudaf. Imami is mudaf ilayhi. And then Imam al-Masjidi, again, it's a mudaf ilayhi pair. So al-Masjidi is again mudaf ilayhi. And both of them being mudaf ilayhi do not qualify for being the khabar. So the only thing now left which can be khabar is fi bayti. And we know from our previous session on types of khabar that jar majroor shibhu jumla is a type of khabar. So jar wa majroor shibhu jumla khabar. Now in this case we will say, because khabar came first, we will just put a qualifier there. We will say it is khabar muqaddam. Khabar came early, and then because mubtada came late, we will say mubtada muakhar. Okay. So these are some of the examples that I wanted to share to help identifying mubtada and khabar for a sentence which contains mudaf and mudaf ilayhi. Really the key rule to remember is that a mudaf ilayhi cannot be either khabar or mubtada. And if you keep that in mind, it will help you to identify the mubtada and khabar in a nominal sentence. Thank you very much for watching.